I'm going to start by introducing myself. So, my name is Tanea. I am one of the administrators of Future Minority Dentists, and I am an incoming D1 at University of Pennsylvania's Dental School. At this time, I was just going to ask Dr. Griffin, Dr. Mitchell to just introduce yourselves to give everyone a sense of who you are, where you went to school, and what you're doing now.
Hi, my name is Dr. Brittany Mitchell. I am from Conway, Arkansas. So I graduated from the University of Tennessee College of Dentistry, Health Science Center, College of Dentistry in 2018. So I currently work at a federally health qualified center in Marianna, Arkansas. But I am looking to change. Them looking.
I think we lost your audio, Dr. Mitchell.
Sorry, guys. I am driving. I had to go home. I had an emergency. I had to go home. So if my signal is bad, I really can y'all hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. So I apologize if I go in and out. But so my name is Dr. Brittany Mitchell. I am from Conway, Arkansas. I graduated from the University of Tennessee Health Science Center in 2018. I currently work at a federally health qualified center in Marianna, Arkansas. But I am looking to change to kind of something a little bit, I guess, where I do a little bit more. I want to get a little bit more experience in dentistry, kind of learn to do some of the things that I didn't get to do in dental school, and then be able to take that back to a community clinic. So, did y'all hear me that time?
Yes, we heard you
Okay.
perfectly.
Okay, great.
Hello, happy Friday, everyone. I'm Dr. Tamara Gravely Griffin. I am from Connecticut. I was born and raised in Connecticut. Hartford is, I can't say I was born in Hartford. I wasn't, but that's where I was spent most of my time. I attended dental school at University of Connecticut. I graduated in 2000. And from UConn, I went to, when I matriculated there, it was Baylor College of Dentistry, but I'm teaching myself to say Texas A&M College of Dentistry in Dallas. That's where I did my endo training. When I attended the program, it was a mandatory 3-year program. I also received my master's in health professions education. So after I finished my training, I joined the faculty at University of Tennessee in Memphis, and I was there for three years, and I left and I joined the faculty at Meharry, where I was chairman of endodontics. I'm an endodontist. I'm currently in private practice. And so when the opportunity came to talk to this group, and I was looking at the choices, I was like, yeah, I know a lot about being, a person of color at a PWI from my experiences as a student, but then also being on faculty. So thank you guys for joining in on your Friday night.
Awesome. Thank you guys for introducing yourself. So, I do have a set of questions that I was able to get from our listeners. So, I'm just going to start with those. If at any point anyone in the audience has a question or a comment they would like to add, please use the button on the bottom. I'm happy to bring you to the stage to the speakers yourself. The first question I'm going to throw out there is, what challenges did you face being a minority at a PWI, and how did you overcome them?
Can y'all hear me? Are y'all able to hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So I think I was actually I went to a PWI undergrad as well, so I feel like I have had a lot of experience with this. I think as dental school, I really did feel that the support system for minority students was not there. I felt and I, honestly, I felt that it wasn't really there for any of my classmates, not just the minority students, but I felt like we just were not seen as much as we could have been as students. I felt that they just ignored us and they didn't really care about us. They didn't care about our success. Like I say, I went to dental school in Memphis, which is is a predominantly African American city. I mean, this city is swamped with African Americans. And then when you get into the dental clinic, the faculty, it's like three black people who are on the faculty. And then there was three black people in my class, and then three black people in the class under me, and only like maybe three or four in the class above me. So the demographics, as far as like Memphis, didn't match the demographics of the clinic, of our patient population, and what we were seeing. I always thought that that was off. Didn't like that who were there, like getting me through my situation that I'm going through right now. So I lean heavily on God and my faith, but obviously just getting the support there from the other minority students and from the African American faculty, because I feel like they felt that as well, that they weren't really seen as faculty members and they were just kind of brushed over. And so I was able to talk to them and get that support from them. So I hope I did not go in and out all the way through that.
No, we heard most of what you said. Thank you, Dr. Mitchell.
I'm going to ask because I want to make sure that I'm clear. Can you repeat the question? I apologize.
Sure. The question is, what challenges did you face and how did you overcome them?
Thank you. At University of Connecticut, the first thing that I noticed, because and just like Dr. Mitchell, my undergrad was also a PWI, but it was a small liberal arts college that at the time was a women's college. It was Hood College in Frederick, Maryland. So my professors, when you're at a small liberal, it doesn't matter. Any school that's a small liberal arts is very hands-on. The people who are the faculty are people who want to be on faculty, and just a total different approach. So the first challenge for me going from a small school to a larger university was the fact that it just wasn't, you didn't have that feel good. It was the University of Connecticut, and although our class size, the dental school was now it's a lot bigger, but when I was there, they only had a capacity for no more than 45 students per class. And I don't know how the medical school was larger, but it was just a total different beast. The people who were the faculty members, they did not have an education background. So the joke that happened whenever I would talk to people, whenever they would interview me, because I also was awarded a fellowship by the American Association of Endodontists because I wanted to go into academics. And so they would always say, well, what was my inspiration? And I would say, well, my experiences in dental school inspired me to want to become faculty. Now, that's a real generic, but honestly, because I knew that I could do better. A lot of the people, they did not have a background in education, and it just was so that was the number one, just being dissatisfied with the quality of just in how they interacted. It wasn't the information, it was just how it was given and how they interacted with us. That was number one. Number two, um a lot of my classmates, they were either their parents were involved in dentistry, whether it be one or both parents being a dentist, or in hygiene or some sort. uh so it was a lot of just, well, yeah, I know your dad, we're golf buddies, that type of thing. And then also the final thing, I'm not trying to offend anybody, but I would tell people when I was at UConn at the time, I was like, I wasn't Jewish, my dad wasn't a dentist, and I wasn't blonde with big boobs. So, so with all of that, there were challenges. So it was challenges because people felt that Who's this black girl? How does she feel like she should be a dentist? And it was all their own things. I never took on their perceptions. And I honestly, it took a while for it to click. That I was like, oh, they for real have an issue with me being here in the school. So it was very eye opening. But yeah, those were some of the challenges that I faced, and I can get into how I counteracted them later.
Okay, the second question that we have for today is, what are some resources at PWIs to address any issues you may be experiencing in regards to like discrimination?
Well, I will be the first to say that my PWI, I didn't feel that there was some of these. I guess I felt issues that I may have felt as a minority, which was really sad. I didn't feel like I could go to the dean. I mean, I just did not feel that I had any support there as a student at my school, which was really sad. And I felt like I just leaned heavily on my classmates and on my faith. But from what I heard, we did have kind of like a therapy, I guess a place where students could come for mental health. And that would have been nice to go and share. If I had known that, I definitely would have gone and maybe shared that and to see like how can you help me cope with this, because it's I was the only black girl in my class, so tack that on with there's only three black people, but then I was the only black girl, so to look around and not see any other black women was just a lot for me. Would take my wig off or take my weave out, and they would be like, "Oh, you cut your hair," and like all like you don't think about like when it's happening, you don't really think about how it's kind of affecting you, and it's like, wow, I've never really had people, you know, act like this around me or be so astounded by all of this stuff just because I'm black. And I feel like if I had known that we had that, I probably would have went and maybe shared some of this. So I would say, if you have something kind of like that for students where you can go and kind of talk about things, and that's good. But at my school personally, I just know that I didn't really know who I could reach out to as far as higher administration or anything like that. I didn't feel that we had it as students. So like I said, guys, I'm so sorry. I had to make an emergency trip home. I'm on the road right now, so I hope my signal is good. I really apologize.
No, we can hear you, and it's fine. That's one of the great things I think about Clubhouse is that it allows you to be mobile. Um, what I would definitely say, what I did, I really used the dean of students. I would go to the dean of students, and honestly, for me, things weren't. It didn't really become an issue until my final year at University of Connecticut and trying to get signed out of clinic. I tell you, it was funny because my class there were two opportunities to have someone speak for the class. It was at our graduation dinner. They had like a banquet, and then also of course at graduation, so they voted to have me speak at the dinner. And so what I shared, because I met my room, I had a roommate who was 2 years ahead of me. She's a periodontist, she's a black woman, she's in Atlanta, her name's Dr. Maria Barnes. So I never understood why her and all her classmates, like, you're looking at them and they're like, you're almost out of here, you're a senior. Why they were so angry. I remember that. I remember she come home and it just was, we gave each other space. Man, listen, when I got to my fourth year, I understood. And that's why I had everybody cracking up. I said, now I know why they're so angry, because you're just going through all of these things. And it's like, just sign me out. I just need to get out of here. And so I started to go, I would go to the dean of students with my complaints, because they need to understand about that. They need to understand. I felt like they need to understand about what was going on, because there is sometimes a dissociation between the administration and then in clinic. So number one, go to your dean of students. That's the first. Number two, every organization has human resources. Everyone, even the university. So if you feel that a faculty member is being is discriminating against you and it's egregious, go to the human resources. Um, keep record of everything. Write it down, because it always helps. Don't think and yeah, it's important. It's important for you to speak up for yourself. And I honestly do feel that right now the universities have been put on notice. They understand. No one can say that they don't understand that there's a problem with bias and things like that. So I would encourage you, when you're in school, if there's someone, and then also, I mean, and then the simplest thing is to avoid working with faculty members that you know are not going to be for you. But that's my advice on that part, on how to get help and assistance.
Yes, and I will piggyback off of that. That there should be somewhere where you can go and file like a complaint or whatever. And like I say, me, I just kind of was like, you know what, I'm gonna just deal with it and be done with these people. And so I didn't really do it. But every school, every job, everywhere should have somewhere, if you are feeling like you are being discriminated against or whatever, you know, they should have that. And then, like what Dr. Griffin said, that I know I avoided working with some of those with certain faculty members. Like I know I did, and I if I felt that this faculty member was little, didn't really like me because for whatever reason, I just then I did try to avoid working with them as well. So I when she said that, I was like, oh, that was so me, because y'all know I'm still fresh out of dental school, and so a lot of the experiences that I had as a student is still pretty fresh on my brain, and so that's why you might hear me sometimes just piggybacking off of what people say, because I'm like, oh my god, I remember that. So, but yes, avoid working with faculty members who or treat you discriminate against you. But yes, please understand that you can take complaints and stuff to human resources.
One thing I learned applying to dental school this cycle was that some schools now, like, they have offices or committees or people that their job is to make sure that, like, minority students aren't being discriminated against. I know that at one point I was heavily considering going to UCLA, and they have like an office, like a whole entire office on campus where like minority students or black students can go and kind of just like, tell them like what's going on, what experiences they're having with like certain faculty members, if there's any issues or anything like that, and they would address it from there. And I've heard from students that it's been really, really helpful. And I'm going to UPenn starting in August, and UPenn has something similar as well, where they have a committee. It's composed of like admissions people, alumni, current students from like D1, D2, D3, and D4s, and they all kind of meet to kind of figure out like how to make sure everyone's being supported. So I think, for people that are planning on applying to dental school soon, maybe look into things like that and make sure your school has a resource for you that can help with that stuff.
I think that's wonderful. And that's great. And that's why I was saying, like, they can't say that things aren't an issue. So I'm really happy to hear that they have a formal ways to give support. I want to share a story from when I was on faculty at University of Tennessee. So for whatever reason, I was assigned, like what you can imagine, you have days that you're in clinic. There was a particular day, and I wasn't in clinic. I wasn't able to come into work. I don't know. I was sick. It was something that happened, and I didn't come into work. So it was a black female student. She one of my colleagues at the time, he He was very frustrating. I'm trying to be nice. Yeah, he was he was problematic. And um I can't even remember everything that happened, but so students, when they knew that I was going to be in clinic, they, because I was fair. I really would feel sorry for the patient, so I would try to make sure that we could get as much done as possible or get the treatment. I would always try to just help them get things go, like grease the wheel, like advance the wheel. And so I really felt bad because the student had scheduled her patient to come in at a time when she knew I was going to be there, but then I wasn't there. And then she had to work with my problematic um, faculty member, colleague. And I can't remember, but long short, he did something. And I can't remember if it was he did something or if he touched her. It was something that was completely out of order. And I was so proud of her because she reported him. And I was so glad that she did that, because honestly, I can say that when I was in dental school, I probably wouldn't have. I probably would have been like, oh, just, keep your head down, keep your head under the radar. So I'm saying all this to say, um, if you are grown, okay, because a lot of the faculty, at least when I was in dental school, again, I'm talking about the 90s, it was the 90s, they would, and even when I was on faculty at UT, they would talk about the students as kids. And I'm looking around and I'm like, there are no children as dental students. Some of the dental students were probably as old as I was or older than me. They had kids, they were married. These are grown people. So remember that. And one thing I also want to say, if we don't have the opportunity, if the question doesn't come up, don't ever for an instant think that you are given any favor by being at your institution. Because I meant to try to prepare for today, but I didn't have time. But I really want to look up and how many applicants, how many people apply. So we know, depending, and you can find this out, how many applications they received at the school that you matriculate to, that the school you're going to. So the fact that you were admitted into that school, no one did you a favor. They admitted you into that school because you were qualified, because they will sit up there, your classmates, the faculty members that don't look like you will sit up there and try to make you feel like you are not some token. You got in there because you deserve to be there. That's something that I will always say. So don't ever try to, no one's did you any favors. You earned that spot. You deserve to be there. And that's what I want to say about that.
Amen to that. The next question that I have from our listeners is hold on. How can we get our classmates of different races to become allies in helping to create an equal and comfortable learning environment?
I think, just you have to bond together. I know that there was two Indian girls in my class, and I wasn't really close with them the first 2 years of dental school because we were kind of like on different sides of clinic, and I didn't sit next to them in class. So I mean, yeah, in preclinical, excuse me, in preclinical lab, like I didn't really sit next to them, and then in class, I didn't sit next to them at all. But in clinic, they were in my group. They were in my clinic group, and so I, saw them every single day, and we began to open up and kind of share some of these experiences that we had as minorities, and kind of how some of the faculty members looked at us. Because I mean, my faculty was a whole bunch of, I hate to say this, but old white men. That was a lot of my faculty. It was a lot of old white men, and you know they have their thoughts about who should do dentistry and who should not do dentistry, and and we used to just have to just sit in there and share our experiences with each other, and have compassion, and say, and just bond together and say, hey, I understand what you're going through. I understand what it's like. I understand to be Black and to be a female. I mean, that's like a double, that's like double, and to have to deal with that and get that extra, I guess, extra discrimination, because I'm Black and then I'm a female. So, find those classmates that you can bond with, and I feel like they really do end up becoming your family. Like, obviously, now we've graduated, and I don't really talk to them as much, but while we were there, I really felt like, I became family with, a lot of my classmates, and we just bonded together, and we, just tried to share our experience when I was in dental school.
Dr. Griffin, did you have anything you would like to add?
I was thinking about that, and I that's sort of a tough one. Because generally, and I'm not making any excuses for people, generally it is hard for people to speak up and speak out. But I know that we're at a different time. So, number one, I would say, just like Dr. Mitchell was saying, make friendships, because people are always going to cap for those who they love, who they have an affinity for. Um, but that's a great question, and that's something that I think as a whole, society as a whole, are working on. And then honestly, I would say, just whenever you have a student, whenever you're together, I would mention it. Like, if you notice something, and if you feel like you were singled out, then I would say, hey, y'all, what's up with that? When Dr. So and so was hazing me and nobody was saying anything, it's like, you guys think you that's a tactic. It's just making people think about it. So, but no, that's a great question, and I don't have a really good answer to that.
Yeah, I definitely feel like it's hard. So, like, for me, I work in an office that's predominantly white. There's only two minorities that work there, me and my actual friend that I recommended to work there. And I feel like very often there's a very, very thin line to like conflict resolution, because, you want to stand up for yourself. Like, you want to say what bothers you, you want it to be a comfortable environment for everyone. But then at the same time, you also don't want to be that person that's always complaining, So it's like, it's very difficult. And I really do like this question, because I feel like, although I don't want to experience things like that while I'm in school, like, I have a feeling at some point I will. So, like, I don't even know how to approach it or address it without seeming like I'm complaining.
Yeah, and I just want to piggyback off of it, because now listening to y'all two, and y'all have to understand. I'm very impulse. I'm an impulse person. Like, I just get in and go. And listening to y'all and hearing y'all say that y'all didn't really have answers, I'm like, maybe I didn't answer the question as best, because I don't ever feel like I had anybody speak up, for how we were being treated. But at my school, it was a little different, because I just felt like everybody was getting treated unfairly. Like, not just me. I mean, I would talk to white boys at my school, in my class, who felt like they were getting treated fairly, and so it's a little different in my school. So, but I don't know that I ever had a classmate, speak up and say that they, saw something, and I think that we were all just, at my school, we really all were just trying to graduate and get out of there. Like, we were just trying to do our two years in clinic, and then go on and graduate and work. But yeah, that's a tough one, actually. Now that I think about it, that is. But I know, I know I did bond, with the other minority students, and I know, I did share my experiences with them and stuff, and so that did help me. But I don't recollect any of them ever stepping up to, speak out about the mistreatment. I don't know. I honestly felt like we were all kind of afraid that if we said something, they were gonna like fail us in clinic or something. So we really did stay silent on a lot of a lot of the issues.
This next question, I really like it a lot. It says, are there ways to use being a minority student to your advantage at a PWI?
Yes, patient treatment, patience. Um, you will find that the patients that look like you will they'll be, well, number one, they'll be happy to see you. They'll respond to treatment better. Not all the time. Of course I'm generalizing, but yes, there's definite pluses, and that was my experience. Is just the patient in clinic, and just getting the having the patients, and of course my patient family, my patient pool, they weren't all people that looked like me, but the times when I was able to have a patient that was black, it was very beneficial, and that's definitely a plus.
Yeah, and I want to piggyback off of what she said. I didn't, we just we got a call list at my school, and then we just called patients. And then, whichever one came back for the exam, then they ended up becoming my patient. But anytime, I did use it to my advantage, like if I had a black patient, then I would be like, oh yeah, if you have anybody else that's looking for dental treatment, recommend them to the dental school, and and they would recommend me someone, and so yeah, I mean I use it to my advantage, but I did. So I'd say yeah, I did too.
Awesome. This next question we got, it says, if there is not an SNDA chapter at your dental school and very little minority students, should you create your own chapter?
Yes, start it. That's yes. If you yes, I mean they yeah. I keep wanting to say something, but I just keep coming back to yes. Like be the be the change, or be the that support system, because it is needed. I mean, and those SNDA meetings, I remember we used to, go to them I think we had ours like so we didn't have it every month, but we did have it, very often. And I would, go to those meetings, and I felt like that was just a chance for all the, students to all the black students to get together. And, it was me, it was D1s, D2s, D3s, D4s, and we could get together and really share that time with each other, and just kind of laugh about some of the things we were dealing with. And I know I like leaned heavily when I was a D1. I leaned heavily on the black upperclassmen. Like they were like my mentors, my rock, and I still talk to some of them today. So yes, if it's not there, definitely get it started. I guarantee you, everyone you know, currently there and anyone after will appreciate it. Yeah.
I agree. Yes, you should start one. And Dr. When I'm listening to you talk about how UT was while you were there, my heart is breaking, because I don't know if you ever looked at the pictures of previous years when Dr. Coleman was there. And it's so, like, I remember somebody telling me like how the numbers fell, and I was just heartbroken, because part of the reason why I wanted to teach there was the fact that there was so many black students. And it's heartbreaking. It is absolutely heartbreaking to see that it was truly Dr. Coleman that made sure that because there was at one point, whether you can believe it or not, there were like up to 15, 17 black kids in a class, black students in a class. So for it to go so I'm listening to you, and I'm like, they made University of Tennessee like University of Connecticut, because the numbers, having three in a class, that's how University of Connecticut was. So Yeah, that's disappointing. And at University of Connecticut, we didn't have a lot of black students in the class, and but just start the chapter. The school will, because they pay for the ADA students to attend the meetings. They will pay for you to attend the meetings. So yes, start a chapter if there isn't one at your school.
Yeah, and I don't want to kind of have like a side conversation with Dr. Griffin, but and this is not, you know, I don't try, I don't speak ill. I learned my dentistry and I learned my craft and I learned, you know, what I love to do every single day, and I made these friendships with people that, you know, are gonna last a lifetime. So, you know, it wasn't all in vain because I, you know, it took me a minute to realize
Your
that
sound is
I
going in and out
actually
again, Dr.
walked
Mitchell.
over in but I feel like I really did deal with a lot. But at my and this is not, I don't want anybody to look at the University of Tennessee. Can y'all hear me now?
Yes, right now we can.
Okay, sorry. Okay, like again, guys, I apologize. I'm so sorry. This is not to like, I don't know what y'all heard and what y'all didn't hear. This is not to deter anyone from the University of Tennessee or anything like that. While I do feel that University of Tennessee could be much better in their support, and it definitely has gone downhill in the past couple of years. I have spoken with a lot of dentists who
Okay. We're gonna go to the next question until her sound comes back in. The next question is, what are some habits from undergrad we should break out of for dental school? And they said, for example, answering questions often, sitting in front of the classroom, etc.
Keep those. Those are good habits. Any sit in the front of the room, take notes, have study partners. That's going to be crucial and vital. Yeah, so I wouldn't break any of those. If you have bad habits, I had bad habits from undergrad. So if you have bad habits, because you cannot, you need to study every day, just because of the volume of work. So make sure that you're reviewing your notes every day. Um, Find someone. It doesn't. One of the best things that I did is she was in the library. My study buddy was someone who we weren't even friends until we became study buddies, and I asked her if she'd like to study together, because she was in the library like how I was in the library. So sometimes you might need a cross, somebody that doesn't look like you, somebody that is different, because I feel it brings the cross pollination, helps to strengthen your study skills. Um, but yeah, no, sitting in the front, you still want to sit in the front. You want to ask questions, because you need to engage, and if you don't know things, you need to make them help you understand it. So I don't see those as anything to stop doing in dental school.
What study habits do you feel like helped you the most in those first 2 years where it's like very heavy science courses?
Every day reviewing my notes. Um, yeah, that was the number one thing, like reviewing my notes every because we're not a machine. And sometimes, like, if some lecturers are better than others, and it's I'm laughing because I remember, like, sometimes you're in class and you start nodding off, and you're trying to read your notes, and you're like, what was I writing, what was I doing? So I would get the lecture takes, because I would go back and see that, oh yeah, I don't understand what I was writing there, or I didn't understand the concept. So I would say take time every day and just reviewing your notes. That was something that really helped. And also, again, I had my one. I don't like groups. So I just had my one study partner, and her and I would work together. We work really well together. So that's my advice with that, is to review things every night. And if you have a question, don't ever be. It is the faculty. The faculty are there to serve you. So if you have questions, go to the faculty and ask them. Try to get clarity and gain understanding.
Hey guys, I'm back on. Can y'all hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, great. Sorry, guys.
It's okay. Hi, Dr. Wilson.
Good evening, y'all. How's everybody tonight? Okay.
We're doing good. We're happy to
Good.
have you.
Good. I'm listening, and I just wanted to. I didn't know Brittany was going to be back, so I just wanted to come and help with the conversation if needed.
Yeah, of course. Did you want to share some of your study habits that helped you?
Well, you know what? I think that you have to learn how to study, right? I mean, undergrad, I think I did pick up some habits that probably wasn't good, like waiting to the last minute. And then you also have to know what to study, what is most important for you to learn. And it's not about memorizing stuff, it's actually learning the concept itself. And I think that once you go to get into professional school, you will be able to see the difference. You really have to know the material, and think about it too. It's very important that you really know what is being put before you, because right now you can't, like, kind of put it into context. But when you become a dentist, a doctor of dental surgery, a doctor of medicine, dentistry, um you have patients that you really gonna have to really think about their care, right? So you really need to know what you know, this is very important. It is not something that you should just dismiss. It's something that you really need to know. The etiology of disease, you need to know everything you can, learn as much as you can, because that patient is dependent on you to be knowledgeable. So you have to look at it that way and look at the whole picture, and also think outside the box. So when you're getting ready to, so the things that you did in undergrad are probably not going to be as good for a professional school if you were, just not even saying getting by, but not really understanding the subject matter. So I think with me, I remember when I was in undergrad at FAMU, I would, because I had so many classes, so I wait till the last minute to actually study a concept. You can't do that in professional school, because in that one class they're giving you 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 chapters, right? And you have to know this. I mean, it's very fast paced when you get into dental school, very fast paced. And there's so much information thrown at you. So it's not something that you can really memorize. It's something that you need to learn, need to know. And how do you do that? I'm not sure I can impart that to you, but you're going to have to find out for yourself how you're going to be able to accomplish all this information, and you're going to be able to, give it back, and you're going to use that to actually help with patient care. So I would say always think about it in that way, and then try to find your own, um, I guess, skill set to help you learn the information. If that's like writing everything down on cue cards and going over the information over and over again, or however you do it, then that's what you need to develop for your mindset. I basically did different things. I would write stuff down, I would look at it, and then write it again and actually learn those concepts, and then ask some of my classmates, or we did have a little study group. But what I found out about study groups are a lot of times the people don't know anything, right? And you're sitting around for 4 or 5 hours and you're spoon feeding other people because they don't know anything. So you have to get with people that are going to be able to impart some information to you that is going to be that you can use, right? You don't want to be studying with somebody and they're asking you all the questions and you spending time educating them, whereas and then you're losing time in because that can bog you down too. That happened to me in microbiology, getting with somebody that really didn't know the subject matter, and then I was trying to learn it too, and then I was so busy trying to get her up to par that I lost where I was supposed to be. So I would actually find ways to not meet with her, even though I did meet with her, but I would go study myself, and then I would get with her because it's like I was spoon feeding her. So you're gonna have to, find out ways to counteract those interactions because you're going to be feeling guilty because they want to study with you, but it's all about self-preservation. To be honest with you, you got to learn the information. It's like being on a flight, right? And they tell you, okay, when the air pressure gets low, you're going to put the mask on yourself first, right? Before you turn and give it to somebody else. That's the same thing in school. You're going to have to learn the information yourself before you can turn around and give it to your classmate, because it's about self-preservation, and you do not want to be the one that does not. I'm not saying there's a curve, but you sure don't want to be the one that ain't in. You don't want to be no outlier if they're getting ready to curve a grade. Most of them schools don't do that. Other them schools won't tell you that they will if you're in a certain amount of percentage point. But you want to make sure that you're not an outliner and that you're doing just as well as everybody else in the class. And you need to make sure you're cognizant of that because it's about self-preservation. You got to make sure you matriculate. You want to help your classmates, but you got to make it, girlfriend. You got to make it to the next level. So you make sure you learn everything that you can. And let me just say this too. And I know I'm going on too long, but I want to tell y'all what's going on now. Okay, so because of the pandemic, a lot of dental schools lost money last year. They lost a lot of money, right? So how they're going to make up for this money is that they got to make sure those classes are going to be packed with students. Okay, so you're not going to get all the specialized care that you would need because there's not going to be enough instructors around to actually show you. So you're going to have to develop strategies. We already see it that's happening at Tufts. Got mentees there. We already see it at UAB. Got another mentee there. They're already telling me what's happening. They're getting all these students and they letting the foreign students in too. So you're not going to have a lot of space and a lot of room in regards to faculty. I was at VCU School of Dentistry faculty, and there was like 7 of us to about almost 70 to 80 kids in the class. So you can imagine what's that like trying to teach somebody and there's so many students and there's only so little faculty. So you're gonna have to develop study skills because you're gonna be doing a lot of this stuff on your own. So, but don't be discouraged because there's going to be somebody there that's going to be able to help you, if it's upperclassmen or whatever. But keep that in mindset that you're going to have to develop your study skills now because there's not going to be so many people there going to help push you over that finish line because the situation that those schools are in now, they lost money and now they got to make up for the money. So Unfortunately, that's probably going to be a larger class size and it's going to be kind of difficult, but you can navigate. Just develop your skills now.
Yeah, so I think I kind of came out, but I came in on the study part. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Okay. So, and I was hearing the other two doctors, Dr. Griffin and is it Dr. Wilson? Is that who came up? Okay. Sorry. And she said, Dr. Wilson said about learning the concept. And I can't stress the importance of that because I wish I had someone to tell me, like, Brittany, don't try to memorize. Like, you need to know the concept because I was trying to bring my study habits from undergrad into dental school. And I quickly, and I mean, when I say quickly found out that the way I study in undergrad cannot be the way that I study in dental school. It's not, it just doesn't happen that way. Like Dr. Wilson was saying, they cover so much material in like one test. Like one test, you could cover, you know, I 5, 6, 7 chapters. Sometimes it felt like we covered so many chapters, and there would just be so much material. I remember anatomy. Gosh, that class, like anatomy, there was so much material that we'd have to cover in one day in like one class period, and I think we had the class like twice a week, and there was so much, and you really do have to find different ways to study. And I know one of the things that my school started doing towards the end of dental school, which I mean they have all these cool apps now, which you probably could do it now, was they started recording the lecture. And that actually helped me a little bit as I got towards the end of dental school, because we did still have some classes in those last 2 years, not as much, but that really helped me going back and listening to what the professor was saying, because then I could write it down and then kind of like study it a little. I felt like that made it a little easier for me. So and I know there is an app that we use. I think it's called Notability, that you can use, and it also records the lecture. But that was something that helped me because like I say, dentistry is all about concepts. Dentistry is there's memorization. Like, I mean, I don't know, maybe memorize some things, but dentistry is a lot of concepts. And I would, and I didn't even understand that until I actually got out into practice. And I was like, oh, that's why they taught us concepts. Like, it's all making sense now because, I'm out in practice and I'm having to apply the concept to what I'm, whatever I'm doing, whatever is presented in front of me. So, yes, I would definitely say the way you study in undergrad is not going to help in dental school. So you're going to have to change it. You have to figure out what works best for you. I was a note card person. Like I said, going back and studying the lectures helped me a lot. I wasn't really big on study groups. I do better by myself, so I can't help in that area. I had tutoring. With some of the more difficult classes, I went to tutoring sessions. Just whatever I could do to try to understand the concepts that were being taught.
At this time, I want to open the floor to anyone in the audience that has any questions that they would like to ask the speakers on stage. If you have a question, just raise your hand on the bottom. I can bring you up to the stage. Trying to see if there's any more questions I have. Hi, Brianna.
Hi. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Hi everyone. I'm Brianna Wright. I am a incoming D1 at Creighton University. I'll be starting this fall, and as of now, I've been doing my little research and digging on the little Facebook group that they started, and as of now, I see that there are only two African American students. This has been giving me anxiety ever since I've gotten accepted to the program. simply because I come from an inner city, African American community primarily, and I went to an HBCU. So I I have my roots with just being around African Americans. Although I did get my master's at Texas A&M, so I was exposed to some diversity. But I think now, after being acclimated to Creighton, because I currently am finishing up a post-bac program here, it kind of got my feet wet on what I'm going to be expecting when I cross over to the dental school in August. And so, my question to you guys is, what are some of the things that I should look for as far as once I'm ending the school that I need to take away from the experience, the overall experience? Not so much the negatives, but what are some of the positives that I can look forward to and use them for my advantage while in dental school here, being a minority?
That's such a great question. I'm glad you asked it. Be open. Be open to experiences and meeting new people. Try your best to just to think the best of people, right? And and since you're there and where you are, you're going to be in Nebraska. Listen, just make the best of it. You probably, and because getting used to that situation, and you will thrive and you will do well, but it's going to prepare you for private practice. And because you in private practice and in real life dentistry, you're exposed to people from all walks, all backgrounds. So just say in your mind that yes, these 4 years, maybe I won't practice in an area like this, but even in urban areas, you're going to be exposed to people from all different backgrounds. So just promise yourself that you'll be open to things, and try new experiences, learn new things. But I know you'll do well, and yeah, and you'll have and you might not have a whole bunch of people from your class that you're friends with, but there's people that from dental school that I'm still friends with, because that's an experience that you go through that you're going to make lifelong friendships. So you'll have a great time, you'll learn a lot, and just be open to learning and new experiences. And also, one of the things I'll tell you that if your friends or your classmates or whoever, if someone says something to you that makes you feel uncomfortable, is out of line, don't ignore it. You can lovingly correct people. We always sometimes they just don't know any better, so just lovingly correct. Like if they say something that's off the mark, and I learned this. She's in the audience from Dr. Lori Jones. She's really good with this. Just ask them, say, well, why would you say that, or what makes you say that, and just and draw them out, because you can use your presence as a way of changing their perceptions. Because honestly, people they believe what they see in the news, and you notice anytime whenever they want to show aid or show somebody in poverty, and it's been documented, they always show a black or brown person. But we know that the numbers show that the people that receive aid the most are not black and browns in America. So just have a great time, and you're going to do wonderful there. I'm done speaking.
Yes, and I wanted to piggyback off of that, Miss Brianna, about the being open part, because like I say, I don't know what parts you've heard of me speak, but I was the only black girl in my class, and so and like I say, I've been to, in my undergrad was a PWI. My high school was like a PWI almost, like, and so I've been around a lot of white people before, but maybe not have been exposed to some of the things that they did before. And because I needed the friendships and wanted the friendships, honestly, and really needed these people to help me, kind of make it through dental school. I experienced, like dental school. I always tell people it was like the hardest 4 years of my life, but it was honestly, looking back on it, I just when I was in dental school, I thought it was like the worst 4 years ever. But looking on back on it, and I saw all those fun things that I used to go do with some of my some of my classmates who later on became my friends. I got introduced to so much that I never dreamed that I would do. I started hiking when I was in dental school, and now I love to hike. And that was something that I didn't do before I went to dental school. And I remember I had one classmate, me and him, we went to the same undergrad, but we didn't know each other in undergrad. But we met each other in dental school, and me and him, we bonded, and we would go out and hang out, and so you have to be willing to maybe be in it may be uncomfortable for a minute, but I really think that if you are open to it and you're have an open mind about it, that you'll find that it may turn out to be much better than you think. I know obviously you're having anxiety. I know what that felt like when my class started the Facebook page. It was me and two other black, like I said, it was me and two other black people, and I didn't see, and there was no black girls. I was like, nobody there is going to know anything about braids, weave, just anything black woman related. And how am I going to make these connections? But I ended up making friendships with a lot, with some people, with my classmates, and other people that was there. So be open, have an open mind, and I think you'll find that you will find something there that you'll enjoy and you'll learn to pick up. Like I said, with me, it ended up being hiking, something I love to do now. But yeah, I feel like I did start talking too much and just rambling. But yeah, be open, sweetheart. Be open.
Thank you. Dr. Lori Jones, I brought you to the stage. I wanted to know if you had anything you would like to add in regards to Brianna's question. Does anyone else have any questions that they would like to ask before we bring the room to a close? If so, just raise your hand or ask them.
Sorry, I was trying to turn my microphone on. So sorry about that. But yes, I do have something to add. I went to Marquette University, but I went there for dental hygiene. I also went to Meharry to become a dentist. And when I went to Marquette, it was only two black women in the class. And one thing that we did, we did stick together, but also I reached out to multicultural affairs, and you can also reach out to since it's a big college. Where are you going to college for dental school?
Creighton University in Omaha, Nebraska.
Creighton. Okay, so there will be people there getting their masters and all kinds of other people that look like you, just maybe not in your program. And so you can connect with them too. But one thing that I did do at Marquette, I connected with the head of multicultural affairs and bounced things off of them in that office. So that really helps too. Yep, and that's it. That's all I have to say about that.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I just added Latavia to the stage. She raised her hand, so we're going to wait for her to join the stage and ask her question. Hi,
Hello, you
Latavia.
guys. Hello, sorry. Sorry, I just got in, so I may be late if you guys have already asked this question. I mean, answered this question. But I'm currently a pre-dental student right now, applying this cycle, and I guess my question would be if you guys had to do it again, and you did let's say you had an option of going to a PWI where you did get a full ride versus maybe going to an HBCU like Meharry where it is more expensive, but you do feel like you'll get that family vibe or, be around people like you. So I guess my question is, would you still go to the PWI just because it's tuition, or would you, free tuition possibly, or would you go where you feel most comfortable if you had to make that decision?
Well, dental school is very expensive, okay? Very. And so
sorry. It's breaking up.
but you can do the National Health Service now. I don't
Yes,
know.
ma'am.
Let me move around a little bit. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Well, what I was saying
It's going in and out again, Dr. Wilson.
was dental school is real expensive, right? The average $50,000. So wow, I'll let.
Hello?
Yeah, I think she's trying to get her connection together. If anyone else wants to answer the question until Dr. Wilson comes back.
Dr.
Ooh.
Jones, Dr.
Can you?
Jones, I think you should answer this because you attended both.
Yes, I attended both. It depends on where you are mentally. So, what's your background? Did you go to a PWI for undergrad? Or did you, I grew up where most of the schools that I went to were PWI. So I was able to go to Marquette and navigate the system. Just understand that I did need to connect with other Black people because I know that about myself, and I found out where and how I needed to do that. Now, with that being said, when I went to Meharry, my classmates did have my back more. The teachers, I still contact my teachers. I have them on text message. Whereas when I went to Marquette, I don't have that. And I don't have as many friends from Marquette either. But Meharry, I have so many friends, people who were my classmates, people before me and after me. And there's so many connections that I had. So, it depends on where you are mentally. And like Dr. Wilson, I believe, was saying, dental school is very expensive. And now you're paying about 300,000, right? For the whole thing, 300, 400,000. With that being said, I can't really answer it for you. I think you would just have to answer those questions in your head. Where am I mentally? Am I mentally strong enough? If, these people, can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes,
Hello?
we
ma'am, I
can hear
can.
you.
Right. So you have to ask yourself, am I mentally strong enough? If these white people say something crazy to me, am I going to know how to approach it and not be in my feelings for forever and unable to focus? Or can I come up with strategies to learn how? You already know they're going to say something. So you have to be prepared. You don't have to be on a defensive, but just be prepared to say, hey, I don't like that, or just whatever. But yeah, those are that I feel like that is a question you have to answer for yourself. It would be hard for me to answer that for you. Doing it all again, well, I had the opportunity to go to Marquette, but I went to Meharry. So that's what I did.
Oh, okay. I think I'm back, y'all. I'm sorry. Well, listen. This is what I was trying to impart to you. The answer for me would be, yeah, I would definitely do HBCU all over again. I did do two HBCUs. I'm HBCU made, and then I did two PWIs after my experience at HBCUs. And I would definitely say, oh gosh, I think let me go out on the porch for some reason. I don't know why my house is doing this, but I would definitely say that was an experience I wouldn't trade for the world, especially some of the issues that I experience today with dealing with these microaggressions that you have on the jobs that you're going to be after dental school. It doesn't stop. So all I'm saying is that I had a very good experience in undergrad at HBCU. It actually helped me develop to the person I am today. And then when I went to Meharry, it was just icing on top of a cake. Okay. And I'm so glad that I didn't experience a lot of, we had different issues at Meharry, but it had nothing to do with racism. And a lot of these dental schools that you're going, and it's subtle, but it's almost like a paper cut, you know? And then, paper cuts hurt. And a lot of times at these institutions, people gonna say stuff like Dr. Lori was saying, and and that stuff hurts. It hurts when people say things, and then like I always say, find your own voice, because it's gonna come at you, the microaggressions and the little stuff that people say that is very offensive to you as a person and to your people. So I would definitely say that I know that I made the right decision to go to Meharry, and I wouldn't trade that for the world. And it's something sometimes we can't even impart to you. And like Dr. Lori was saying, you're going to have to make up your own mind what you want to do. But definitely it was the most important thing for me at that time. And then all these years later, that I'm on these jobs dealing with these people. For some reason, it's hard for people, some people now, a majority people, to accept somebody that is black, that's a woman, and that's a doctor, and is their boss. I mean, it's unbelievable. They ought to do a study on it, how they act. I mean, they first, and sometimes I don't even think they even understand why they're acting the way they are when it comes to you and what you kind of, just by looking at you, what they think that you're saying. And so I'm glad I had those years, that I was encouraged and I was championed and I was made to feel wonderfully made. And no one questioned that. And so I would definitely say, and I think I'm breaking up now, so I'm going to stop. I would definitely say you have to find out for yourself. You have to find that out for yourself. That's what I wanted to say.
Thank you.
And I'm gonna say, because I loved everybody's viewpoints. Um, and yes, it does depend on your mindset. For me, I wouldn't change anything. I still would have gone to UConn. Out of everybody here, Dr. Jones knows me the best, and also my friend Tanya that's in the audience. And for me, everything comes down to the money. Everything comes down to the money, and that for me, but that's me, and so you have to know yourself. Um, and I always like to call myself an honorary Maharian, because I have so many friends that went to Meharry, and I taught at Meharry, and there is a difference, because the students, they look like and me, no matter where. For me, honestly, every student that I work in, because my especially my Facebook, my social media is full of former students, white and black. I treated everyone with respect, because I was using my experience at UConn as a model of what not to be. But yes, a lot of the white faculty, they have issues. They don't feel like you should be there. And that's why I mentioned, I don't know if you were in the room earlier, but I mentioned, wherever you go to school, you belong there. Don't let them try to Jedi mind trick you into thinking that you were given some favor. The schools get thousands of applications, and they chose you. They're not giving you a spot because you're black. They chose you because you deserve to be there. Period. On period, as we say. And that's something that I would even tell you to tell them. If you start getting those vibes, nip it in the bud. You're not there on some sort of token. You're there because you deserve that spot. Because I would tell people with the quickness, I would have gotten anywhere I went to, whether it was college, dental school, my endo program. I got there. I would have been there whether I was white or black. You're not going to try to play that game with me. And so that's something I always want the students to know. So that was a great question. And I think ultimately, for all of us who are doctors now, our schools got us to where we want to be. I give money back. They see my name all the time. Every year I give money back so they can see. So I'm grateful for University of Connecticut. It gave me a great education. It got me to where I want to be. But I'm excited for you guys, and I feel that, and especially dentistry is a great profession. It's a profession that really allows you to decide how much you want to work, where you want to work. You have autonomy. So, however you get there, it's still going to be a beautiful thing for you. I'm done speaking.
All right. Does anyone else have any other comments or questions? All right, so I'm going to go ahead and start to bring this room to a close. I want to thank Dr. Mitchell and Dr. Griffin for being our speakers, but also thank Dr. Wilson, Dr. Jones for joining us as well. Our next event is going to be on Monday, April 26th at 9 p.m. We're going to be talking about the DDS PhD options that are available at some dental schools. So if that's something you're interested in, feel free to join us. If at any point you guys have any other questions you would like to be asked, you can always message us on Instagram. We'll be happy to ask the speakers. But if that's it, I'm just going to say good night and thank you to everyone for listening.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night. Good night, everyone.